All right, y'all. Season 4, the LaRae Infinity Let's Talk podcast, the dynamics of women. We're here live in studio in downtown Houston, the 4th largest city in the country, in the Esperson building. So shout out to Esperson, Cameron Management for sponsoring this, our podcast studio. Because as you know, season 4 is the last season of this podcast, and we are doing it bigger, better, and brighter. So not only are you hearing me, but you're seeing us. And for today, I'm really excited for this episode. And before we dive into everything, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself.
Hey, y'all. My name is Jasmin Brand. My zodiac sign is Scorpio. And today I grabbed a fabulous lavender latte at Nourish. And you are listening to LaRae Infinity Let's Talk podcast season 4, the dynamics of women.
I love it. You're like the dynamics. So you can't not do that, right? Yeah. I'm so excited. So before we dive into everything, I have to tell you how I know you and why I'm grateful for you as a human and how we met. So I had to think about this. We met in 2020. Virtually doing Share the Mic Now.
That's right.
We didn't meet in person until 2021.
At Shermie's
wedding. Was she in 2021?
21.
Fletcher,
22.
So, yeah. So, this is a cool episode. As you see, our wine glasses are uncouthly filled really high because our girl, Shermie, we know her. We've seen the conception of Shermie wine. And so we will be drinking a lot. And we want to celebrate that. But I appreciate everything about you from how you conduct yourself in business, how you fold into other people, and just in general, like the way you deliver, right? I think that sometimes the timid, polite is really what people would hope comes from a woman. And yours is forward, loving, but factual, you know?
Thank you.
And I love that about you. And I love that we have very similar stories with our mothers and our sisters and are on the opposite end of loss in those kind of ways. So I'm really excited about sitting down with you because, you know, on the podcast, the idea of amplifying women and celebrating the journey and the culture that goes along with women and everything is really amplified when we're able to sit down and have these conversations. And particularly for this season, when I thought about it, the dynamics of women is really about that thing where we say the unapologetic. And I'm kind of reluctant on that sometimes. But the purpose of this is really highlighting the journey and sometimes telling that untold story that could help somebody else and help ourselves. So thank you for sitting down with me, and thank you for being who you are to so many people, even the people that don't say thank you to you.
Oh, thank you. I would hug you if we were sitting at the same seat.
Hugs like that?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to get started. This game is called Let's Talk Fast. It's a word association game. It's super simple. I'm going to say a word, and you're going to say a couple words or a short phrase that comes to mind when I say the words.
Do I need to have wine first?
Yeah, let's do some wine. Just a little bit. Let's talk. Let's talk. Hey, y'all. I just want to give you the heads up. There is definitely cursing, adult content, and there will be triggers in this episode as we look at and celebrate the journeys and the walks of women. Let's talk for real.
Yeah.
Not often are women celebrated just for the actual story. And a lot of time, the things that happen to us or that we decide to do are sometimes labeled as badges of shame versus like celebratory triumph and everything else. And so, like I said earlier, this podcast is focused on women from all walks of life, how we grow, how we navigate, how we impact the world we live in, to tell that often untold story, to change those badges of shame into triumph, wins, celebration, showing women that there's not just one way to do this rule-abiding world that we live in. So I'm excited to talk to you and share this story, and I appreciate you for being willing to come on this platform and open up like this, because it's a lot to ask people sometimes. But over the years, what I found profoundly is that every story helps multiple people because when people know they're not alone or they're not the only ones or get perspective on, well, damn, there's other things that could happen. It just helps us move the needle forward and process in our journey. So I want to start with just like, who are you? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah.
Who do you know? What were your family dynamics growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up, I consider myself to be Southern and Midwestern. So my dad was from the South, Texas, and he was one of six, the oldest of six kids. Oak Cliff, South Dallas. My mom,
Really?
yes,
Oak Cliff.
yes.
That's my hood.
Marsalis near South Oak Cliff High School, my
Okay.
grandmother. And then my mom was from Ohio. So I
Mm.
definitely have both of those two opposing forces. Midwest is very conservative,
Hmm.
quiet. My dad's family, no. So when my mom, only child, my dad's oldest of six. So
Hmm.
those two, I think I'm a mix of both. I'm used to having lots of people around me, but I'm also very love solitude and quiet as well.
Mm.
And so my mom was one of the first kind of Adobe specialists in Ohio. And she's the reason why I think from the book side of things, I would really love passionate about reading.
Yeah.
And I used to beg her to go to school. So my birthday is at the end of October. And the way they used to do it was if your whenever your birthday was, you had to wait till the
The
following year.
cutoff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I begged her, was crying. She told me I was walking around with a backpack, just singing, please, I want to go to school, mom, blah, blah, blah. But they wouldn't let me go into school. So my dad, he basically went to, there was a Catholic private school.
Hmm.
He said, if you let me clean the school, if you let Jasmine go here early, would you do that? He was like, yeah, we'll let her go. And so I was 5, I think, when I started school. So that was a perfect representation of the fact that my mom was always pushing for us to learn and educate, but my dad was hustling all day, every
Hmm.
day. He ended up becoming best friends with the priest who was at that school too. And so my sister followed me at that school after that. And what's interesting about that story was we weren't Catholic. So that's one. And then private school is very, very expensive. We had no money at the time. So
Hmm.
my dad was literally at the school cleaning.
Cleaning the
Yeah,
school for your
all
tuition.
day long, all the time
Huh.
too. And you had to buy uniforms at that school too. The skirts that we had to wear, all the girls wore skirts and dresses, very expensive. I was the first girl to wear pants because all the boys wore pants. They were
Hmm.
cheaper too. And
Ah.
I always think about that. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I didn't think we were like pushing a boundary or doing anything. It was more because we just couldn't afford it. But my dad was just always very unapologetic about the fact that you deserve to be here by
Yeah.
any means necessary. You'll find a way. And that's kind of been since I started school. And it kind of is a recurring theme for me too. And so I have a younger sister,
Hmm.
older brother. My brother is a half brother. My dad basically adopted him. We were younger. He's about 8 years younger, 8 years older. Our whole family, astrologically speaking, are Scorpios, except my sister.
Really?
Poor thing.
Oh,
Poor thing.
what is
Virgo.
oh
A
yeah.
house of Scorpio is nothing
Virgos
nice.
are fly though.
A house of Scorpios is nothing nice.
Yeah, y'all.
We and in October, my mom and I have the same birthday.
Oh wow.
And then my brother was November 18th, or is November 18th, and my dad was November 22nd. So he's on the cusp, 21st, he's on the
Okay.
cusp of Sag. So
Okay.
yeah, my sister was just, I think we turned her crazy. She's still the very rational, practical person. We turned her very intense. It was a very intense childhood growing up.
Like, what do you mean by intense?
Deep conversations. My dad, and he would talk to me about business when I was 6 or 7.
Hmm.
We would go long car rides together. He would talk about, so he had a cleaning service. I mean, he's done a little bit of everything. He would tell me how he was getting clients. He would talk about my mom and their relationship too, how he was tired of her. Same thing. I mean, really like what you should be looking for. Yeah, very
Wow.
intense conversations at a child, but we had intense conversations at the dinner table too. It
Hmm.
just was a very passionate. We used to think, my friend used to say, y'all are like an Italian family because we would sit there, deep conversations, arguing, but like lots of love there too. But lots of love in the fact that really committed. Both of my parents are very committed to us being a family, but they were just two very opposing people. And I think when they met too, it's just a different time. I think women now have choices to be like, I'm not getting married.
Yeah.
I'm cool. My mom was like, he's got a good job. He's taking care of things. He's all right looking, probably is what she said. And so they got married, but they shouldn't have got married. So really,
Wow.
really great friends when they split up, but they were not a good couple. And we
Mm.
definitely saw the effects of that too.
Okay, so you're talking about, your dad, these
Mhm.
long car rides, the intenseness, and that's you. I mean, you've been doing school since 5, so that's really interesting. So after the Catholic school, private school,
Yeah.
what was next? Like, what was the next iteration of Jasmine?
Well, so I was I started to realize I had a very competitive spirit too. So I won a couple of spelling bees. Yeah. And so
Aquila the Bee style. Aquila, right?
you know
Aquila.
what? I was going, but yeah, in some way, because you started to get kind of money and prizes and stuff too. So that really,
Oh.
yeah, so that was exciting. But at the time when we went to the Catholic private school, I was the only Black girl. I mean, we had maybe a handful of
Mhm.
there too. And so I think my parents too at the same time, they were already kind of a tumultuous relationship. So this was back in Covington, Kentucky, which is on the borderline of Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's where I grew up. And then my mom and dad decided that we needed to come to Texas because that's
Mhm.
where my dad's family was, more career opportunities. So I went from Catholic private school to the Dallas School District, which is a complete different.
Okay.
Like I got beat up learning, like wanting to read and everything. I had kids beat me up.
Like legit, like,
Oh yeah,
and this is
make fun of
in
me.
is this in Oak Cliff as well?
No, so I went to Edna Rowe, which is in East Dallas,
Okay.
and
East
so
Dallas.
and so being excited about learning, I realized that was not like a normal situation. And then my dad would come up and have lunch with us all the time. I got beat up about that. Yeah, so I got a really tough
Yeah.
exterior based on all of that happening, but I still loved learning because it started early. I think I was encouraged to read. When we got in trouble, we had to read. Like that was our disciplinary the action that we got was like you had to read, you had to go research something. And so when we got to school, and I also had glasses too, I had bright red glasses, which is the worst you could ever do to a Black child is to give her black red.
You were so cute though, weren't you?
Well, first, so there was a talk show host, Sally Jesse Raphael, that had these
Yes.
glasses. So I liked her glasses and got them. I remember walking to school, somebody knocked those glasses off as soon as I walked in.
This is like almost the girl version of Everybody Hates Chris.
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
That's what I'm just thinking about because
Yeah.
their family, he was a hustler. She was the nurse working.
It's similar.
The brother, the sister, except for, and so you're the middle child in some type. That explains
middle,
so
but
much.
my brother, you would think he's younger.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm like the old, and my parents, when I was younger, they came to me, even when they talked about what would happen if something happened, they came to me, not my brother. Yeah.
I got
and even my
you.
brother today calls me like,
you're the oldest.
Yes.
By default, kind of.
And he was like, so we have different fathers, and my brother had long curly hair and huge eyelashes. He still has these beautiful eyelashes. He was the first boy. My mom had him at 17. So he was spoiled rotten.
Yeah.
So like he just used to having lots of women around him. So when I came on board, it was like, okay, Jasmine, even right now, he's like, you're the serious one, Jasmine. That same. I'm like, you're supposed to be the oldest brother. I'm supposed to come to you. But yeah, different dynamics.
Yeah.
Me being really my mom's first girl, my dad's first daughter. But she had my brother, but he was kind of raised by a lot of people because she was only 17.
Yeah.
So just a different dynamic. So
yeah.
And we always lived, we were in Ohio, Kentucky for a little bit, but then we lived in Texas when we moved after elementary school. So we didn't really grow up together. He's 8 years older. So still close. But that's why a lot of people forget. They're like, oh, I didn't know you were a middle child because I just always hear you about your sister. Yes.
Yeah, because I honestly didn't. Maybe, but I'm like, do I remember hearing something and maybe in passing something about a brother? So the reason why I was snickering earlier is because I just find it very amusing the things that kids beat up other kids for, right? Like you almost would hope that we would be praising some of these things at this point. And even with Gen Z now, like the way the stuff that we thought was uncool is now like cool or really accepted or like, oh yeah, those are the book kids. Like if you need anything with the book, like it's different. And so how do you think that all of those things, being in timeout and your timeout was reading and research, getting beat up for loving education and starting education really early, how does that play into your projection and where you go next after middle school?
Yeah, so I was beat up and made fun of for being a nerd, but then also too talking white. That was a whole big thing too. So you have those two things. You're constantly, am I black enough? I'm too smart. And then the fact that you can't be smart and like books, but that's not supposed to be black. Like that's really problematic. Even when I think about some of the girls. Now, it was funny is I'm on Facebook, connect with them. We look very different. I'm not hating or whatever. We've had different lives. The girls that made fun of me, but now
that full circle, like,
yeah, full circle, yeah. But I think they forgot too what they did. Right? I'm like, do you remember? You were really mean. But my dad was really the
The
central
anchor.
the central reason why I have such confidence in myself.
Mm.
And he did not grow up with his father either. So the fact that he was able to know how to raise children, much less daughters,
Yeah.
and instill with us the confidence of regardless what happens to you, you're supposed to be here. Like that was, I can remember that like in first grade hearing that stuff.
Mhm.
That's been the consistent thing. Even though he's no longer here, it's still in the back of mind. So it really creates a sense of fearlessness because
Mhm.
I always knew I have that. And he's like, you'll be okay. You'll always figure it out. He's right. I have always figured it out.
Yeah.
And after a while, what's sad though is I didn't wear my glasses for like several years in school. So like my vision's horrible right now, LaGina.
Can you see me?
Barely.
Really?
I have contacts, but my vision's horrible because I really messed my vision up because
Huh.
I didn't want to wear my glasses. So I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there squinting like that, trying to read stuff, just damaging myself because I didn't want to be made fun of. It's
Mhm.
horrible when you think about kids today. And I even know I have some friends that have kids that are LGBTQ, what they have dealt with, the bullying, I can only imagine. I had it then, back then, way
Mhm.
long ago. You have social media and stuff. We didn't even have social media.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And you as a little child, you don't even have the mindset to understand that these kids are hurting. They're really doing this because not as a place of pain, but you don't know how to process that.
You don't know how to process it. And I even think about when you're looking at when I was growing up, I was a tomboy before it was
Mhm.
associated with like being a lesbian and
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. I was a tomboy. I thought it was the G'est thing to,
Yeah.
play a sport and learn how to spit and
Mhm.
sunflower seeds and wearing baggy sweats and all that. I thought it
Mhm.
was so cool.
Yeah.
And even men that are like thespians in theater and stuff, and then you find out they're straight and there's this stigma around
Yeah.
it. I didn't even realize now because I was listening to NPR the other day that like Xena Warrior Princess is associated with being a
Is
lesbian.
she?
Apparently the
What?
lesbians loved her. And I was like, I don't care.
Wow, I
I
never
loved her.
yeah, I don't even
Right.
wow.
So I
Hmm.
I highly dislike the stigmas behind things
Yeah.
because even my dad, I tell people my dad was like a nigga, like, but
Mhm.
he was also of a military family. My dad had a master's degree. He was smart enough to marry a great woman and them decide to be faithful to each other
Yeah.
and forge a family and all this stuff.
Yes.
And some of the way I am is because I was raised by a man, so that happens. But he still had feminine things that I'd be like, Dad, how do you? He's like, I work too goddamn hard to know how to change a battery for a car. That's why we got you a car club. And I've had
Mm.
AAA since I was like 2.
Wow.
They'll call when I call AAA, they'll be like, "Thank you for being a member for 34 years." I'm 38. I've had AAA that
What?
long, right? I'm 38.
Wow.
So those are the kind of my dad would go get manicures and pedicures with my
Mhm.
mom or whatever. And I remember, and it's odd because this conversation has come up several times over the last month, but I remember um hearing and talking or listening in, or finally when I got older, my dad talking to me about, people making fun of him for choosing his wife and raising his kids.
Wow.
But then you look back 15, 20 years down the road, well, his kids turned out pretty good and
Mhm.
his family's still intact. And those same people that were making fun of him are now like calling him for advice and all that kind of stuff.
Totally agree.
And like you said with bullies, that memory becomes short-lived even if they're close to you and part of your friends and family. So after middle school, you're in
Mhm.
high school. Talk about high school a little
Yeah.
bit and then who you started becoming. Did you put back on your glasses?
Yes, of course, because
Mm.
my mom found out and she was very pissed about
What were
it.
you doing? Like leaving home, taking them
No,
off?
I would wear them and then, like, I'd just take them off when I got in class.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'd put them on when I got picked up.
Mm.
So just the whole day just not seeing anything, which is just crazy to think about that. But what happened was, so DISD, my mom really didn't like Dallas ISD. She just, because we were used to smaller, we just had, when the private Catholic school system we were in, just a teacher to student ratio. I was reading at such like a really voracious level, and it was encouraged too.
Mhm.
Writing, like those are really, really strong. So when I got to Dallas ISD, was several grades more advanced than the students at the same level. And so my mom, when we were exploring high school, the high school that was in my district was one of the largest high schools in Dallas. It's called Skyline. It's thousands of kids. And my mom's like, she will not do well there. And she
Mhm.
was right too. So we started exploring, okay, what school could I go to? We start looking at Arts Magnet, which is the performing arts high school. You had to audition in it.
Mhm.
Except I really didn't have any talent at that point. And I kind of took some dance classes, but none there too.
Okay.
So I auditioned for dance. by the grace of God, got in there.
What was do you remember your audition?
We had to do like some ballet, or we had to come up with like a choreography or some kind of thing. I was in drill team though, and I was a captain, so I was able to kind of make that work. But I had really good grades.
Okay.
So I think that was in my
Just
dad
kind of
also,
a balance of the, okay.
Yeah, and then my dad was up there probably. Like,
talking in somebody's ear.
Got me in there. Yeah,
like,
for
wow,
sure.
Look at that turn.
No, he was just like, you need to have her in there. How many black students you like? He was
leverage.
Up there doing something. Yeah, for sure. So got in there, and it was the best experience because this is where Erykah Badu went. Like, it is a school that's produced like really talented people, but we had no dress code. It was kind of like that show Fame. Kids would be dancing in the middle of lunch. Like, you just be singing in the middle of the hallway. Like, it was the best school experience. And so we would have dance classes in the morning, and then you have your academics or vice versa in the afternoon. So I had all AP, it was all encouraged there. It's smaller student teacher ratio. And so it was very much like the Catholic school environment that I had grown up. So I kind of flourished there because I just didn't do well in really big schools. And I think Arts Magnet is considered still to be one of the top schools in the school district. It was treated very differently. Like the students that were, because you had to apply to get in there.
Yeah.
And so from there, I just really discovered a love of English and writing and figured, okay, I kind of want to do something in this space. But as far as like a professional development or like personal development, it's all girls there. I mean, we had some guys there, but now the guys they're either, if there aren't women today, they're gay. So a lot of the classmates I had there. So and the couple of straight guys we had there were basically hoes because it was like two of them that were straight. So I didn't date any in high school. Like my prom, I think was like a group of girls we went to.
Okay.
Which led to college, me having a hoe phase. I did. I went to college and
you had a whole hoe. So you got, so in high school, you said your thing was dance.
Well, you had to pick a cluster. So arts, theater, dance, or I think it was visual arts or creative writing.
And you did dance?
Yeah, because I was like, I can't really act. And then like I couldn't paint at this point. So, and I had done some dancing before and I felt like that's the one I could get in. So
I feel like you could have done the acting thing.
I don't know though. I was very shy. So that's the other piece too. Like I was really shy growing up. That's why I tell people even today, like I'm an extrovert, but like for pay.
I love that part.
Like after 2 hours, even one of the girls yesterday when we did the event, she was like, "You got 10 minutes left," because I said I have usually 2.5 hours and then I have to like bounce. And so someone came up to me, she was like, "You have 10, 15 minutes left." I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I saw you fold.
I started to get drained out.
Yeah, your sister and me were laughing about that because I was like, "Oh, she's done."
Yes,
I love that. In high school, you did dance. That fascinates me a lot.
Yes.
What college did you go to? What were your decisions in college? What is this like whole phase that you were talking about? Like, was it a conscious decision to get into it? And I often tell the story about, I remember when I was younger, my dad told me, he's like, just wait on things, Rae. You don't have to do everything at once. He's like, and so I did everything incremental, but I went in. Like if I did it, I did it. And so when I got to college, because it was 14 hours away, first thing I did, I started partying, right?
Oh.
And then I picked out somebody to have sex with. I didn't even tell him I was a virgin, right?
Okay, you picked him.
I picked him.
Okay.
And he found out, it's exacting.
Okay.
And all that kind of stuff. So it was one of those experiences. And then, I didn't do my like sexual exploration phase until like my 20s after college in Austin. I had a great time with it.
Oh, it makes sense.
So
Austin.
So what was what was your college experience, and then how did you get there? Were you walked to the doors? Like, what is it?
So I ended up going to Southern Methodist University because I got a scholarship there. I wanted to go to NYU, Brown. I got accepted in all of these, but it was very expensive. Yeah. But more importantly, too, I went and visited a couple of schools, and I realized I just wasn't ready to be away. Although I was like, Mom, I'm getting out of here. But then I went and visited Brown. It's in Rhode Island, very small community, very few people of color. I didn't realize how much I would need that. Plus, I never forget, like, two of the Black students I met with, they were like, you have to take 2-hour train to go get hair care products. I was like, what? 2 hours? She's like, yeah, there's nothing here. I was like, this ain't gonna work. I got accepted into a school called Middlebury, full ride there. It's in Vermont.
Okay.
It's where the Ben and Jerry ice cream people are from.
Shout out to Ben and Jerry, because look, over COVID, the stuff they used to post
I
on
know. I love. I
Instagram,
know.
they are socially
They
wise,
are. Well,
and I
the whole
love it.
town was too. So the
Oh,
town was
really?
cool.
Okay.
But like when I got there, the snow was like up to here.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and then it was a 4-hour ride to get hair care products. And then all the Black kids all went to lunch together. And I did not come from that environment. My world has always been very integrated. So when we got there, my guide, she was a student there, Black, and she was like, yeah, we all meet up for lunch. I was like, what do you mean we meet up? She's like, because I had met a little white girl on the tour. I was like, oh, well, you should meet up for lunch. And then she's coming with me, and I was like, "Oh, you meant literally all the only like 10 Black students here." So when my little new white girlfriend walks up, they were like, "Oh, she's not really allowed." I was like, "That won't be my vibe either."
Oh, yeah.
I can't, but I get why, because Middlebury, the Vermont was so white. The campus super white, liberal, woke white people, like so Ben and Jerry's, but it was
still white.
Totally, yeah. So I was like, I can't go here. And then basically SME paid for everything. So at that point, I was like, okay, my parents are 10 minutes away. This sucks. And my dad was up at that school almost every other week. We just saw your dad, Jasmine. Your dad brought us ribs and stuff. I was like, oh my God, I can't. And then I was like, they said, yeah, your dad was up. I said, why didn't you tell me? Oh, he didn't come up here for you. What? It was ridiculous. But now that he's not here, of course, I look back at those times and like how lucky to have him there. But there's a different experience when your parents are not 10 or 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, Jasmine, can you go pick up some groceries? I was like, I'm at college campus now. They're like, you 10 minutes away. You can stop by Kroger's.
You're like,
and get
respect
some meat, some chicken. Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
I had to go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, it was amazing. Now, I didn't really hit the whole face till that last year because I was basically on academic. So I had hit GPA. I did study abroad twice. I did Oxford, south of France. I was in multiple clubs and stuff. So I didn't really have time to do that. But yeah, I hit, I would say probably 21. And then, my 20s for sure. I like caught up because nothing happened because we weren't Catholic, but because I went to the Catholic private school, I was raised Catholic for all those years there. So you really were supposed to wait till you get married. And that's kind of what I was planning on. Going to Booker T, there was no straight boys except 2 of them, and everybody already slept with them, so it was all girls anyway. Right. So you don't have to really worry about it.
So I was like, you're not a lesbian.
No, at this point, I'd be married if I was.
Yeah,
I'd be married by now.
I'd have been married, divorced, married, and then married with a kid.
Kids.
The whole shebang. Beautiful house. Traveling.
Trying to do, Oh,
CEO, traveling. I often say, and people think I'm playing, I say, I wish I was a lesbian.
I've said it several times.
I wish. I even tried. I tried. Nothing. Or I was like, ooh, we should bring this guy I'm talking. I can't stand talking to straight girls. Y'all always think it's a game. And I'm like, isn't life a game? Like, oh, wow.
I tried several times. Yeah. And each time I was like, nothing. Yeah. It was like sandpaper.
Yeah.
I was like, gross.
And I even was like, I remember one time I tried it. Me and this girl, we went on this date, and the whole time I'm kind of looking at
on a date?
Well, I mean, at the time what I thought dates were.
Right.
And we went and hung out, and I'm kind of just looking at her like, I feel like I'm hanging out with the girlfriend. Well, I always get jitties everywhere. I'm just a very sexual person. But I was just like, yeah. And so like I take her to my house. And this is like, I'm like, damn, I was raised by my dad, right? So I take her to my house and we're like, I was like, I don't like how she smells, like in general. Not even down there, just in general.
Well, so what, did you have a certain type? So of course mine were super masculine. So they smelled like a man.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Everything looked and fit like you would think. Smell everything, but it was like,
I don't have a type. I ain't got no type.
Of course you don't. Yeah, of course you
don't. Bad bitches is the only thing that I like. That's what I was going for. No,
right.
And then my logic was, if I wanted a man, I'd be with the man. But it's just come in spouts, right? So I'm hoping by like 60, I'm a lesbian.
You think you're gonna grow into it?
A lot of people do. I watch them do it. They be having a whole run of career kids. The husband passes, and then they go into
this is true. They go in different phase.
Yeah.
But if it's this, but it's at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to the sex part.
Yeah.
Because I could be in a relationship right now. I mean, literally, we could have a whole household together. It's gonna come down to that.
So
sex. You think at 60, you're gonna change your sexual, like what you want at 60? In fact, what I heard was that, the biggest kind of STD situations going on, and
It's in nursing homes.
Yeah,
The
so
nursing homes are lit with STDs.
So
Actually,
you're gonna really want.
I'm not gonna be in a
to
nursing
man.
home at 60.
No, but I'm saying at 60s that like everybody, your sexual desire stuff is supposed to increase in your 60s. That's why they're out there sleeping with everything.
Look, if
So
my sexual desires increase at 60, that's gonna.
you haven't watched? Okay, yeah, you haven't watched some of these shows. Yeah, like
I've watched all that stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's why all that stuff's happening here too.
Mhm.
But I think you're gonna really want a man then. Like I don't think anything's
Yeah.
gonna change sexually for you.
And I often talk about most of my lifetimes. I've enjoyed dick, and I've probably been a man in most lifetimes. So I do think that I've always been on the queer side of something. And then even when people meet me now, they're like, "Are you?"
I think I just thought you were kind of just like
fluid.
Yeah, I didn't think you really had a type, and it's just like you said though. I
Mhm.
didn't think you had a type, man or woman. So I
Yeah.
thought you have both feminine and masculine energy.
I do. I'm obsessed with black men in this lifetime.
That's good.
So yeah,
that's not gonna change at 60.
yeah, it may not. It may not, or maybe I'll do the throuple thing.
What?
I don't
that
know.
I can't do.
Yeah.
I can't do. So
Okay.
this is the difference in Scorpio and Cancer.
Yeah,
Can't
but
do it.
I don't think I could do it either. I'm saying
I feel like you end up cooking pancakes for everybody, LaGina. That's what I feel like will happen.
Why you just want me to cook you
No, I
pancakes?
think like you nurturing. I think you would still figure it. You would welcome
figure it
everybody
out.
at your house.
Yeah.
Me, no. No.
So
Because then I would be over analytic. I'm like, you did that. I saw what you did to her. I did not get the same level.
Yeah. No, well, I'm hyper observant like that. So I'd be
Okay.
like, why y'all looking at each other like that while I'm cooking the pancakes? You fucking serious right now? So I think it'd be one of those things. So you're navigating college, you're in your last year, you're in what you call your hoe phase. I call sexual exploration.
Well, okay, I say hoe phase means when you're not really dating and you're not making decisions to have sex with someone based on compatibility or if it's a good decision.
Just knocking it out.
Yes, that's a hoe phase.
Oh,
and I think every woman goes through, you just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But mine was short, and see, because I was Catholic, then I went through a phase of a Catholic guilt for many years after that. And I've done that several times in my life too, where I'm like, yo, yeah. And then like nothing happens for years. I feel very guilty about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been I guess I don't call it abstinent because I just was like, I'm not going to have sex for a while. And it usually spans for like a whole year. Sometimes down to the day. I know COVID, there was a COVID year, obviously. A couple years before that, there was a year. A couple years before that, there was a year. But I mean, there's also been times in my 20s where I had 3 sexual partners at once. Not all together, but just I even was in an open relationship. I just,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
You just kind of, you figure out what works best for you.
Yeah. And I'm still not sure what works best right now. We're at a sexual partner and that works out for me. Same person.
That's what works right now. Yeah, right now.
Same person. So you're at the end of college. What was your major?
I did political science, international studies.
I can see that. Poli
double major. I did English and French because I wanted to work for the UN.
What happened with that?
So I went to law. I was going to go to law school. I did really well, and I started touring different law schools, and I was like, this is horrible. So I went to UT and sat in the class. I think it was like 600, and I was like, this won't work. And then I was like, the only reason why I wanted to go to law school is because of Claire Huxtable. I really had no point of reference on why I wanted to go to law school. I was like, this doesn't appeal to me at all. The LSATs kicked my butt. I mean, I did okay with them, but I was like, why am I even going down this direction? And then I got a marketing internship at the Dallas Morning News. That was supposed to just be an internship, but then turned into actual job working in kind of the advertising key accounts team, sales and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, this feels a little bit closer to what I'm supposed to be doing. And my mom's like, yeah, you won't go to law school. I was like, probably not. Because I think she also was like, ooh, my daughter might be a
lawyer.
Yeah, ooh, this is going to be great. But then she figured out it wasn't going to be for me either. And so I started working and realized, okay, I was really good at marketing. I liked the people who were marketing too. We were all kind of weird and creative. The people I met that were going to law school, I did not like the vibe of those people. I don't like feeling restrained or controlled. Law school felt very restrained and controlled. I didn't have too much debt after school too in law school at SMU or any schools. UT wasn't too bad, but it was going to be a lot of debt. And so I said, well, I'll just start working and realize I liked marketing. I like coming up with new concepts and creative concepts. But I also realized I didn't like working for people too. So this was a strange time because when you graduate, well, you have to build out kind of your career at this point. Now, entrepreneurial starting things is very normal. But I would say like 15, 20 years ago, we weren't all being pushed to start companies now. Like my little niece Zaya is like, "Ooh, I'm gonna have a side business." She's 7 or whatever. That's a new culture, especially for women.
Yeah.
Like we weren't taught to be getting your job and doing a side
And there's
hustle.
no framework for it either,
No,
support.
that's right. And they
Mm,
actually was telling you have to pick one.
yeah.
That's actually the old school vibe is you have to do one or the other. But I was like, I don't feel like I work well in corporate. And if I think about all the times I've tried to work corporate, they've been horrible. Either
Yeah.
I blew up something, everybody hated me, either was laid off, fired, disrupted. Even though I created had lots of results, I did not fit the mold of working for somebody else. And that's probably because of my dad, because he always had an entrepreneurial spirit. He had to go out there and pay for things and figure out a way on his own. He was not really good with rules either. My mom was really good. So I had those two opposing forces. You
Mhm.
better get a job, get benefits, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And my dad's like, "Shit, F him, go do what you want." Like I had those two things since I was growing up. And so I'm still have both of those now too. I'm like, I like the stability of things. I love stability. Like even a relationship, would love to be in a stable relationship. The statistics show if you're an entrepreneur, you do better when you have a partner.
Yeah.
You just do much better. Even how I'm interacted. I have a white guy that I work with her Texas. No, none of y'all have met him yet. Y'all, I'm actually gonna bring him out in public though. Very good looking white guy. We'll never date him. I already tell people this too, because as soon as I tell him, "What's up, Jasmine? How come y'all haven't?" No, no. But he already knows there's certain business entities and arrangements and situations that he does better in, that I either bring him in with me or he does it, because it's like the way people interact with you as a single woman or as a single Black woman is very different than when you're in a couple in a relationship. So I love the stability of it. It just hasn't happened for me this way. So you just continue to create your own pathway. And that's kind of what I did.
Mhm.
I realized I was going to eventually become an entrepreneur, but you just
Mhm.
have to find your way towards it. Now I think it's easier. I think if you're a young woman who's in high school, you could literally pick an entrepreneurial pathway
Yeah.
and it'd be okay. I think for me, I had to work a bunch of different places to kind of finally realize where I'm at today.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a clear linear pathway though.
I think that, two statements can be true at the same time because
Mhm.
it's easier to be an entrepreneur, but I also think it's more challenging because I remember during COVID, at the crux of COVID, when it was really going, everybody came out as a marketer.
Oh
Everybody
God,
was this
girl.
marketer.
Guru, yes,
Yeah,
girl.
and I
Mhm.
remember the people that I actually know that are marketers, like you and some
Mhm.
other people. Even Franca is one of the episodes this season, and I just remember the people that were starting that I know are marketing and doing these things started getting really discouraged because of the person that was able to make the social media hype for the marketing,
Yes.
sell the classes, sell the courses and everything. And I said, "Hey, at the end of the day, statistics." I said, "Let's go back to the numbers.
Mhm.
It's about showing up like we always talk about. It's about remaining consistent
Yeah.
and outlasting everybody."
Mhm.
Anything you do, if you're able to do it and sustain long enough and outlast people, that's kind of how you win in the
Yeah.
game. Whether we're talking about something like um, my business, the Us Space. I see people doing it. I see people starting it. I see people that look like they're thriving right now, but the reality is back to those numbers. Even with Share Me and Share Me Wine,
Yeah.
we've seen people start at the same time she is
Oh
and
yeah.
go up and fall quickly. We've seen
Mhm.
people just kind of think that it was gonna be a road and then a sinkhole and they're done.
Yeah.
So it's just those kind of things, when I think about that. And when you talk about marketing and the direction you go instead of being a lawyer, and even that car ride, going back to
Mhm.
your dad and the car ride, all of that stuff culminates. But what is that when you're thinking over that part of your life?
Yeah.
What was that one really impactful thing that you feel like has changed you or started you in a projection of the Jasmine that is now?
You know, what's interesting, and my mom used to always say this was two things my mom used to do. On Saturday, she would listen to like jazz music, and we'd be like, why is she listening to this? Who listens to music with no words in it? My
Mm.
sister and I would always wonder about this.
Talk
And
shit
now
in the
I listen.
background.
No, we're like, now I get it. Right. Now I get it why she listened to music and what she needed to. She also used to tell me when you get older, things will make more sense. I was like, whatever. And she was exactly right.
Mm.
I think that being an entrepreneur is easier than working for somebody. And you would
Mm.
think it's the other way around, but imagine building your whole life, giving most of your money away to someone else.
Mhm.
They tell you what to do, where to be there. They could end your time at any time. They also reward you, but at a very minimal amount, because most of the bonuses people get is ridiculous. After then, it's taxed at this point. It causes most of the obesity, mental health, and anxiety issues. It also impacts our relationships. Very few of us get an incredible employer. All of us can remember somebody I worked for, and I can think of it now too. Just like teachers,
Yeah.
Mr. Gray was my teacher in fourth grade. I still
Yeah.
remember, like he set me to say, "Go do it." And he passed away of AIDS later too. We didn't know this, but he
Mhm.
was like, "Go do it, Jasmine. You be you." But I can think of an employer that was incredible. I can think of a boss that was amazing.
Yep.
Very
Mhm.
few of us get that lifetime, just like finding a soulmate partner that can grow with you and changes over time. What's killing us is working for somebody else, honestly, but it's a culture that we don't really talk about. And specifically Black culture, Jasmine, when you going to end that so you can go work for something else? Like that, everyone always thought for a while, I'm just doing this until I get a job or whatever.
Yeah.
And then benefits too. We will stay at a job that's killing us at this point and degrading us for some
For
benefits.
some
And
benefits.
they're not even paying 100% of the benefits.
And or it's by default or something, and it's the HSA that's really helping.
Think about Black women too. Think
Yeah.
about us, how we're already treated and literally we are the most disrespected in this world. We contribute so much and the most disrespected. And if you think about us in the workplace, I just know because I've been working with women in so many capacities for so long. The amount of stress and pressure and the amount of dimming we do ourselves, it's actually shocking to me how much we put up with. Now imagine you go home and you don't have a partner, a great partner at home, or you don't even know how to have the really healthy relationship. Entrepreneurship has saved a lot of us. And that's why when we
Yeah.
both host these events, you can talk to these women. They don't know how to figure it out. They're like, I'm not sure if I'm a business owner, CEO, but that's where the light is
Yeah.
that creating that world. If we can get more women to be like, I can create my own destiny. I can design my life this way. It's not and it's not this I'm graduating school to go get a job and then
Mhm.
maybe I do a side hustle. It really should be the other way around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have this perspective unless I have actually gone through all these pieces
Yeah.
and know of the trauma that we are dealing with on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. I was talking to my sister about this too. We just sometimes I'll tell experiences to her and they'll trigger her of stuff she had working at a bookstore at 19 or 20 of like I gave an idea, somebody stole the idea.
And then branded
Yes.
it. So specifically for you, because what you just said resonates and people are like, well, what are some examples? So for you, when you talk about this heavy level of disrespect, I can think of so many. So we'll use Mama Harris.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was active duty Air Force for 18 years,
Mm-hmm.
a military officer. And she talks about times where she remembers that even her walk now, next time you see her watch, and it's changed a little bit since she's retired,
Mm.
but her walk, she would meticulously walk kind of boxy so that her hips wouldn't sway and
Mm.
somebody wouldn't think she was trying to be productive or, seductive
Mm.
to people when that's our natural body sway because
Yeah.
we have hips and we got to
Right.
move our body to get
Yes.
our joints moving and all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. Or she would wear a really tight, smaller bra so that her boobs weren't out
Mm.
and all of those kind of things. So somebody didn't perceive her as being the
She
temptress.
did that for 18 years.
Around 18 years. And I also remember the weight checks with the BPMs that are based off of white women's bodies that my
Wow.
mom would have to uh binge diet for. And I didn't even know
Wow.
when we lived in San Angelo after she retired, because when you are an ROTC officer, even in high school, because the check is coming from the military as well,
Mm-hmm.
they still do weight checks. And my mom told me, this was like a couple weeks ago, she told
Wow.
me that after she left, after she would leave the school, she would go swimming to keep her weight down. And I had
Wow.
no
Wow.
idea. And this is after she retired, but she was still getting a military check. So she was under a little bit of a looser,
They
but it
still
was
manage your weight to get the check?
they did then. And
Wow.
the Crown Act that just passed here in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
even that, the military didn't allow locks while the whole time she was in the ROTC stuff. And her hair was locked.
Mm-hmm.
She just relied on them culturally, not knowing that they were
Know what
real
it was.
locks
Okay.
versus just extensions,
Yes.
because her hair was so long. They would just assume it was fake.
Okay. Yep.
So, what are some examples for you personally is you're in this marketing world,
Mhm.
even leaving college up until now, where there's just been disrespect and it's from a clear because I feel like you're a very perspective person. Well,
Mhm.
you've even said, no, LaGina, it's not because we're women, or no, it's not because we're black, it's because of this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, huh. So, but you just mentioned that. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to how you feel like there's been large amounts of disrespect.
I mean, I think it's so most people that are in roles of power or leadership roles have not really been properly taught how to be a leader.
This
So
is
you're
true.
just bringing your whole self to the role. And a lot of women, I'm going to say black women and white women, come to a leadership role and are not thinking about how do I support and amplify the women that are here on my team.
Mhm.
They are scared that they may not be cut out for the role, that they people are threatened by them. They have so many emotional decisions that they have now brought into the business setting. And so bullying still continues on. We know it happened to me when I was little, but it still happens in a corporate environment. Taking credit for a lot of our work. Anytime someone is complaining or making an observation about your personality, I've had people say she's aggressive. I had someone actually tell me my speeches were I'm a very heartwarming person, which most people know that is not accurate. I'm really sweet and kind and will give you the shirt off my back. I'm inspiring. I don't think I'm heartwarming. And what
Yeah.
he meant by that was he goes, well, you could just speak more with factual data. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I get paid to speak, but okay, I'll let you say that. There's times when we are being held up to a standard that we could never meet. And so you have this just vicious cycle of people that are continuing to get promoted with no kind of culture of leadership of what that even means. And so here you are, a person that just graduated college, you're excited about your role, you think you have a chance to get promoted based on your work. And most of the times in a corporate environment has nothing to do with your work
They've already
output.
decided how far
That's
you're
right.
gonna go.
Or it's how you play the game politically, who you
Mhm.
know. And a lot of us don't realize that we come in thinking, I'm going to work hard and do all these things. And it's like, it has nothing to do with that. And this is why, if we started to explore what entrepreneurship means, the freedom it actually has, and if we started to teach kids at an early age that this is the pathway that you should go, that you spend all this money getting an MBA for what? And I have lots of girlfriends that have gotten MBAs, and I think certain careers that it's made a difference.
Yeah.
But you're still complaining about a lot of the things that
Mhm.
that a lot of us are having issues with. And so, when would you ever have complete control over your situation? Entrepreneurship is very hard. You have customers that don't pay you. It's a very lonely life. If you don't have the business acumen of actually how to do human resources,
Mhm.
operations, you make lots of mistakes. I made many, many, many mistakes in the beginning. I still
Like
make
what? Like
mistakes.
what?
Hiring is still a challenge for me.
Hiring is hard.
I do not pick people well at all. In fact, there was some narcissism too. I was picking girls that were like me for a while, which is a whole other conversation, LaGina. My friend, she was like, have you noticed, Jasmine, last round of women you hired, they're all very similar to you? I was like, what do you mean? They were like, well, and then I went back and looked. I was like, wow, Jasmine,
Mhm.
really narcissistic. And the reason they would never work for me because they're building their own shit.
Mhm.
They're very entrepreneurial. One, like I should never hire anybody like me. I need to actually hire the complete opposite of me. Women that are not looking to build a brand, not looking to actually take over things and visionary. I actually need that complete opposite of that.
Mhm.
So human finances too, actually how to even realize that this is not a hobby. This is something that I actually make money and I actually need to create a financial legacy for
Mhm.
myself. I don't need to do everything. I wouldn't know this till over time. And so we just have, I think it's a mindset change. And right now, too, because I do so much work with women around the state of Texas, I'm able to talk to women in different zip codes. We share a lot of the similarities, but I have noticed in certain cities, we aren't as encouraged to be as bold with the entrepreneurship. It's like maybe it will work. And I know our white counterparts don't think that way.
When I think about that in, our own business journeys outside of like everybody else, because I think that with the things we're doing, it's easy to talk about everybody. But when looking at you
Mhm.
and what you're doing, um, I haven't seen you dim your light. Do you feel like you've ever dimmed your
Oh
light?
gosh, yeah. I had a project recently though, that yeah, I had to because you don't know it. So sometimes people, and I say this in relationships too, I have met men who are like, oh, Jasmine, I love the fact that you're financially
Mhm.
independent. You got your own stuff. You don't need anything. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good. You no,
That's
it's
not
the issue actually,
it's
because
gonna
now
be a
it's
problem.
questioning about the fact that I am so independent. Now it's a problem. Employers are the same way too, where they're like, You knew what you got when I walked in
You're
there.
so great.
Well, they're like, we like the fact that you've got all this stuff
Mhm.
going on, that people are attracted to you and you have this personality, whatever. But you start to really discover that no, they actually don't. They like the benefit of who you are. They don't like who you are yourself.
Mm.
And yes, a lot of us, specifically women of color, have dimmed ourselves, don't even know we're doing it. Even in our own relationships too. You stop cheering about yourself. You start being excited about, hey, I was actually really good when I did that.
Mhm.
You start even going after projects. And I found myself doing that too.
Mhm.
Luckily, though, entrepreneurship has always been here. And I have tried a couple times. Even me, I was like, you know what? I'd like to be stable. And I say stable in the fact I'd like to have kids. I like to have a husband. I
All
love
of
to have
it.
all that stuff, little dinner parties and stuff.
So cute.
And I would try to do a little corporate and it would come back. And I'm the big proponent of listen to what the universe is telling you at this point. Every time I have tried to do corporate America or anything corporate-ish, it has always gone to negative. I'm like black licorice for people. Either they really like me or they have a problem with me. This has happened since first grade. Even
Yeah.
the girls beating me up like this too. If I had girls, I'll never forget, she said, she hit me or whatever. And I said, why'd you hit me? I think I was 8. And she goes, I just don't like you. It's just something about me rolling up with my books and my little red glasses. I just rubbed her the wrong way. I have tried it, and it's like to keep doing something over and over is insanity. And it's like, why not take all the energy we have and try to build something great on our own?
Mhm.
Because we do have a network of women that would help us, but we have to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
Most women will not say, I'm hungry. I like to be married. I have another girlfriend that told me, she's like, Jasmine, if you want to get married, you have to tell people. Because she's like, I thought you had somebody. I was like, what? She goes, you're very private. She goes, if you want to get married, first of all, you can't be in front of the computer because all you talk to is the Amazon driver. And this is accurate. We on first name basis, Chris.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, Chris. But she's like, who's going to meet you at this point? She said,
Yeah.
you're also around all women's events. She goes, you do very large women's events. And she
Yeah.
said, you're not gay. So like, when would you actually meet somebody? I was like,
Mhm.
touche.
And if you were gay, that's not where you want to meet the
At
person.
all.
Because
Right?
there's also that whole thing. My favorite thing about my partner, who is my sexual partner, is
Mhm.
he is not fascinated with much that I do versus me being me and
That's
how I
it.
do it.
That's it.
And when I think about, because everything that I am is me as a woman, right? And when I think about that, being happy with being an entrepreneur, and like you said, that most entrepreneurs, especially women, are, would you say that we process better when we have a partner or something
Yeah,
like
well,
that?
statistically, you do.
Mhm.
This is just business owners in general.
Yeah.
When you have a partner, and corporate America too. Corporate, you last longer. You have a longer career, more successful career when you have a
Mhm.
partner. Which
Mm.
is why I said, if it wasn't about sex, I would go ahead and I have several guys and women that I could be in a relationship with. This guy I told you earlier. I'm not going to say his name. I almost said it. Um, he's been around a long time.
Uh-huh.
He would not be the best relationship match. He's an amazing guy, but technically speaking, if you saw the two of us, he's 6'5". We look great on photos. He's great business wise. A mess personally, right?
Mhm.
So if we were to go out and stuff, people interact. So even when he and I have been together, just out having drinks, people come up.
Do you
The
ever
wait
use them
staff,
for arm candy?
huh?
Arm candy for events and stuff. Have you ever used them?
I only for business setting I've
Yeah.
had him in, but like he starts getting on my nerves when he starts talking, which is why I said it has to be very limited, LaGina, at this point. He looks great. He's extremely intelligent too. He's got like a lot of mom issues too. And I'm like, I
Oh,
can't,
you
yeah, that's
can't.
what I mean. So, but like I took him to a couple of business meetings. They were like, Jasmine, like, oh my God, we'd love to talk to you about such and such was talking about this thing you're working on. He goes, we didn't know you were working on that. And I'm like, Brian, I told you about the project. You've known about the project for 4 years, but now this guy comes and tells you about it.
And now it's a thing.
Yes.
Do you find it in your career, because you mentioned that, I find it very interesting. Sometimes I leave out the word sexual when I say partner, and I'll just say, oh, this is my partner.
Mhm.
And I find it very interesting the avenues that having a partner opened up in business and even leveraging that.
Oh, it's a huge thing. And here's the crazy part. I was just talking to this guy about this. Like, he's always kind of been around. We're great friends. In fact, he knew my father. So that's what I mean. He's family at this point.
Mhm.
But I've talked to him about formalizing what we're doing so we can actually like make it more official. And there's women that will interact with him differently. And that's really the biggest piece too. It's not people are like, oh, women supporting women, hashtag women's empowerment.
That's not always
The
happening.
worst experiences I have had have been women. And so he will be interacted much differently. They'll be way more open-minded to him. They'll be like, what's her Texas? Tell us more about it. This is just the nature. And when I was younger, I'd sit there and get pissed and be like, I'm gonna go write a blog about this. I'm angry. At this point, I don't have time for it. We just here to make an impact and make money and leverage and move forward. I can't change the world. There are just certain people, when I have my name on something, are not going to want to do anything with it. When I put him on it, they're going to be open to hearing about it, and specifically in the state of Texas. So this is just the reality of what it is. And so you can say, I'm going to go move to New York, New Jersey.
Bye.
Try having a
Right.
business there, right?
Yeah.
Like every place it's got its pluses and not negative, pluses and minuses. But I am now a realist of the point, just like me getting married. It may happen, right? But it's just going to be a different type of situation. I always wanted to have kids. Technically, I still can. It's just gonna be different. It's not the same when you're 25, where you can pump out like 4 or 5. Plus, right now, I'm like, I don't even want to clean. You know what I mean? That's the difference. Like, I really do. The motherly vibe is there. I don't have the patience. Like,
would you have a nanny for your children?
For sure. Cash has a nanny, girl.
Cash is
my dog / roommate / husband. Yeah, girl. He's got. Yeah, that's why you saw the stress earlier. That's who he's with.
Oh, got it. That's hilarious. I need to take a drink on that one. Okay, so I'm going to pause that part of your story real quick. And I want to know, think about this, but what is one of those really bad decisions, the worst decision almost, that you have made, and in hindsight, something positive has come from it?
I don't think I have bad decisions.
Okay.
I've really kind of come to grip with that. And I think I had to accept my own failures as being part of this journey, because I am definitely having the Catholic guilt piece. I've made mistakes that have been done publicly too, just projects, alignment with people. I've also dated and done business too. That was bad. And so I was using the word bad, and Facebook would show you those memories of stuff. And every time it would pop up, I'm like,
Facebook and Google be getting me.
I know. And after a while, I was just like, this wasn't bad. I had to have this happen. Like, there's one where I partnered with someone. We were blurring those lines of a relationship and a partnership. And he's now having a baby this year. We were talking about it because we hadn't talked in a bit. And I had like this fantasy of us, because he's from Italy. I had this whole fantasy of us doing a business there. I would have my child there, blah, blah, blah. Just going, we never discussed this fantasy, by the way. It was just in the back of my mind as we were also doing this project together. And I realized it would have not been the best part. Even how he's talking about the baby with this girl, I was like, gosh, it wouldn't have been great anyway. But we spent so much time in Italy, I spent so much time learning about wine, culture. So was it bad? Did it take up time in my life? It was 2 to 3 years. I can't get back. Yes. But was it really that bad? I made the decision to do it.
Yeah.
So it's something in me. So it's only bad because it felt bad, but we have to take full responsibility. Like, the places we're at right now, like, we're working at a space, we're getting disrespected. We choose to continue to come there every day. Like, and we know we have bills and everything this way too, but it's like, what's the price to pay for your disrespect? Me choosing to do business with this man who was beautiful, spoke Italian, I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
But I chose to do that. So
Lady Gaga, Bad Romance.
Yes. But like, I made those decisions. So if I'm saying my decisions and experience are bad, that means I'm bad. And so I can't view myself this way too. I had to actually go through that, because now I have a love of a culture that I wouldn't have had before.
Yeah.
I also now realize too who I want if I have a baby too. How he spoke about the experience with his I was like, it was very transactional sounding. I was like, we wouldn't have been a good match anyway, as far as how we would probably upbring anyway.
How would you want, if you meet somebody, because I won't say when, because I think that puts a lot of like unnecessary socialization on it. But if you meet somebody and y'all are gonna have like a baby, how would you want that chronologically to go, relationship wise? And then when you're pregnant, how would you want it to look?
See, just when you said that, I got anxiety about it. So I'm
like, I got anxiety when I went like that. I was like, oh, this is not a pregnant belly.
Because I'm already trying to knock the 30 pounds right now.
Okay.
And I'm like, when I get the 30 down, that's it. Like, I don't want to go back.
Okay.
So maybe we're adopting at this point. I don't know. This is good we brought this up.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I'm actually going to have the baby if we said this.
Surrogate?
Maybe, yes. Yeah, and it's changed too, because 2 years ago, I probably would have been in love with, even with this guy, that was the image of me. I could see myself doing it right now. But it also could be too, I just haven't really been in love. And so I think love makes things possible and makes things feel easier on your own building something, which is what I've been doing for a while, and I'm building something big. It's very exhausting. So right now I'm like, ooh, a baby. Ugh.
Yeah.
But a right partner, guy, I might think this could be possible too. I think for me, when you get older, and I say older over 35, I really don't need a lot of time to connect and meet someone. I don't mind courting and dating, 'cause I'm actually a very kind of romantic person that place. But as far as knowing, I know myself, and this is why I say the relationships aren't bad. Thank God I went through a series. I went through the whole phase. I went through a series of guys because I know exactly who I want. He is not tied to what I'm doing now. What's weird though, I do sense that he's going to be connected with the business, but I think he might be quiet money, LaGina. You know, he's connected but super quiet.
Let's take a moment and manifest that.
Yes. I wrote this in my journal too.
I love it.
Yeah, right?
So
he's fine with me.
He's fine with
and
you.
he knows I'm very different than what people see, even at the event. So you know me. I am definitely a very social person, but not actually. I'm very quiet. And Marisol, even our mutual friend Marisol, gets it too, where she already knows after these events, I need like 4 days.
Yeah.
So when we first were new friends, she would send me stuff like right after, and she'd be like, "Hey, where are you? I haven't heard from you." I was like, "Girl, I need like 4 or 5 days to be quiet, to decompress, to marinate on what I heard, just all the conversations." The women sending me very powerful messages. Anytime I do an event, I get some of the most amazing messages and they tell me things that, and I'm a full empath, and I feel everything when they're like, "I was in abusive, or I did this, or Jasmine, I came to your event, I'm deciding to do this." These things hit me, and I have to have time to process all of that. People that love you and know you get that. And so for me, the guy would get that too. He's like, I get Jasmine has all this stuff going on, but he's like, she's super quiet, likes to order Chinese food and watch Law and Order.
Right.
SVU.
And have Cash bully you
SVU.
around.
I would clarify this because Marisol, she kept saying Law and Order. I said it's SVU.
Well, so fun fact. So for those of y'all that don't know, and I don't even typically do this, but Marisol and Jasmine know each other.
Yes.
And didn't y'all go to high school together?
Yes.
Okay.
And Marisol did not like me.
Oh, okay.
She was kind of mean back in high school.
Let's take a sip to that.
She seems so opposite now because she's such a
holistic.
I think she was like this back in high school too, but she had a very tough exterior back there. Like she wasn't very friendly. I would try to talk to her, and we weren't really friends in school.
She wasn't one of the girls that beat you up though.
No, because that would stop when I got to like high school and stuff. I didn't. It was more of like when I first got to DISD, Dallas ISD. Those first 2 years when we came from, you talk white. What's Ohio? Like, why are you reading books? Blah, blah, blah. Why's your dad up here? Like, that happened for like 2 years. And finally, like, my dad came up there and then it stopped.
It stopped.
I think he threatened the kids or whatever.
All right. So you talk a lot about this proverbial love. When you're thinking about love, and let's say relationship love, because there's so many different times. A relationship with, in this lifetime, you're a hetero woman. So with the man that you meet or not, would you rather be crazy ass rich? And I'm not talking rich in love, money, crazy rich, or deeply in love?
You know what? Jasmine 5 years ago would have said deeply in love. But I realized that laying in the bed, deeply in love with no food, money changes and makes things possible. It just does. And it allows us to take our relationship to the next level. I've been in both situations, by the way. I've dated men that were very, very wealthy and was horrible. I've also dated guys that were awesome, didn't have any money. I need to be somewhere in the middle too. And this gets older. As you get older, like Marisol, we're talking about Airbnb situation. I told her, I was like, I can't sleep in a twin bed anymore. I just can't do it. And I also can't sit in the back of an airplane anymore either. My nerves can't do it, LaGina. Comes over time when you get older at this point too. I have to stay at certain places. Like, so for me to be happy and for us to actually explore and do things together, I want us to have the option to stay at home if we won't. Not we have to stay. I also don't want to eat a ton of fast food either.
That part.
Yeah.
Do you cook?
I actually do love to cook, but it's just me and Cash, so.
Okay. What's your favorite dish to cook?
I like baking. So I love to bake, actually. And the Italian guy learned how to make pasta. So it's another one of those positive things. So I know how to make homemade pasta.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that. You say something about your hoe phase. You did your hoe phase and you're glad you did it. And you said you've done it a couple times, right?
Well, when I've talked to other people that have had hoe phase, I realized mine was a whole light. It was whole light. Like it was not a full whole.
Oh,
Yeah, because like when I started hearing
yeah.
them describe their whole phase, I was like, oh, okay. I think my whole phase was not really a whole, but for me it
What was
was.
the most scandalous thing you think you did?
Okay, so I went to a tech conference. It's called Collision. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite. It's in Portugal. And I went to it. It's tech people from around the world, 50,000 people. In Portugal was my first time. This was like 4 years ago. And beautiful place Portugal is. Like I probably would actually have a second home there. It's a stunning place. The men are beautiful. The food is
That's
incredible.
fun.
It's great. So this tech conference, I went to the conference the whole week. I had a girlfriend that was there as well. And she was being a hoe the whole week. So as I was going to the session, she was just being a hoe the whole time. So finally, it's the last day. And she's like, Jasmin, please quit being uptight. You've gone to all the conferences. You met all these investors. She goes, please come out with me. I was like, all right, it's the last
Come
day.
bow-legged been the cow.
Yeah. It was the last day. So we go to this bar, and then they're having like a Beyonce remix theme night or whatever. I lost my phone in 2 minutes. Yes. And then I remember we were out, and then all I remember is the next day there was a guy there. He was just like, he goes, do you want to stay connected? I was like, sure. But I didn't even have my phone, remember, because I lost it at this point. And I just woke up. There was like cookies in the bed, or there was like food or whatever. I was like, what happened? And then I talked to my friend Rachel, and she was like, yeah, Jasmin. About an hour after you lost your phone, she goes, you lost your mind. She goes, remember the guys bought us all these shots? Then she said, you base was married to this guy the whole night. She goes, y'all went out on the town, the whole thing, y'all was taking photos and stuff. She goes, yada, yada, yada. Y'all went back to his. I was like, what?
Not a hangover moment.
Yes. And then I didn't have a phone either. So then I had to use his phone before he left to put it on Facebook to come get me at this Airbnb.
Wow.
Now, the reason why I believe I did this, because I was in a 3-year relationship before this, ended really poorly. So I think this was a byproduct of that. So I feel like that was a hoish phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one night
yeah.
was a hoish phase.
Whole night.
Okay.
Whole night.
A whole night. A whole night was a whole night.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. That you went in, girl. Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
What?
That feels like okay. See, that's what I'm saying.
It's just an
I have different
it's just an
in a foreign country.
That's even better.
That's what I'm saying. I thought that was an extra level.
Oh.
No name, foreign country.
No, that just reduces risk of seeing that motherfucker later.
He found me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I love Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. These conversations, I realized my hoe phase was not quite the same.
And then, for me, I don't consider it a hoe phase because, I
was in a long term and then just did it. Okay.
Whatever, to each their own. So do you still consider yourself, or do you consider yourself like a sexually enlightened person?
What do you say enlightened? What do you mean?
You tell me. Like when you hear it, do you consider yourself enlightened in sexuality?
I think that word enlightened can be interpreted. I think I'm a very sexual person, but I also am someone who is a controlling person. I don't like mistakes. I don't like surprises. So you mix that two in there. So which is why I'm amazing in relationships, doing everything, trying everything. In relationships, like complete different person. Single Jasmin, though, I'm very cautious also because I have a public facing. I have tried the apps and I've seen people on there that are either business clients, potential investors, stuff that. So I realize I have to be careful about that stuff too. I don't like slip ups and mistakes either, and I don't like surprises. And so that's hard for me being a single woman too, because that limits you being very free, which is why I love being in a relationship, because I feel like that's when I explore and do all the stuff I want to do. Because I'm like, you're with that person, you have someone to trust, you have that at peace. Single me, it's definitely hard for me to be like that free about it. Because I have the times that I have, even this guy that in Portugal, he was a huge investor and ended up finding me on LinkedIn because he was like, there's not that many Jasmines in Dallas. I was like, fuck, that's true. It's not that are in the same space.
Yeah.
He just typed my name in Dallas. And of course I was on the first page. He's like, so I found you this way. And I was like, and then he's tied to many, many investors and stuff I was conversation with.
And you're just trying to separate it.
Well, I don't know what I said or did, LaGina. It was cookies in the bed. I don't know what it was.
You know that thing I say, always have the audacity of a white male millennial and swag it out? One of the groups of people that I learned how to party with and party from and be Unapologetic is white boys, man. If you're out partying, that is a bubble.
Oh,
And when
okay.
you wake up the next day, it's like, bro, we did that, and that's it. You don't
Oh, okay.
apologize.
Okay.
If you threw up, you probably give somebody a thank you. If
Okay.
you lost
Well,
something,
that's probably how he was when he hit me up. He was like, "Hey,
he's
we're
not
good."
thinking nothing
Yeah.
of it.
But I don't remember what I said or did. And my
Mm.
friend Rach was like, "Y'all was talking about getting married and stuff." I was like, "What?" After
He was ready. He found himself a
I
chocolate
think
American
so.
girl.
Yeah.
He was
But she
ready
was like,
for
"You
you.
also were pent up." She goes, "I could tell." She said, "Just how you were drinking and stuff." Because I had gone to all these sessions. You're on all week. And then she knows my relationship ended poorly too. Like, that's why I did the Portugal trip. I was like, she could come to this conference, we'll have fun, loosen up. And she said, you could tell you were pent up. And that's the piece too of allowing ourselves to be free to express stuff too. Cause she was like, it had only been an hour and a half.
And
I
you
was
were
like,
ready.
Yeah.
But you know, if you bottle stuff like that, as soon as just like I say, when people take long sleep breaks, I'm like, your body will take it back.
Yeah.
Your mind will take it back. So
Agreed.
what do you like about yourself right now?
You know what? I like the fact that I think to the point earlier we said about just accepting yourself as you are. I have also to realize of where I need to ask for help too. It's been my biggest challenge of asking for the help because I'm so used to having to do everything. And I think when you grow up not having a whole lot, and my dad had the same vibe too, we just did it ourselves. And we usually can do things better too, and not from a conceited perspective. I usually can do multiple things. And I think, LaGina, you're very similar this way too. You can do a lot more than a lot of people can. That is not a good thing.
It's not.
And in fact,
it's actually harder.
It's harder. And it's like not giving yourself time to be free and to express yourself is the result of that too. And so I'm really excited about where I'm at professionally. I have gotten just the encouragement from so many different people too. I just work, and don't always hear from people about things. And I've had people who've come up to me, Jasmine, remember we talked 10 years ago and you told me to do this? I was like, I did. And so I think I'm now allowing myself to accept and embrace the work that I've done, flaws and all, I'm perfectly perfect. Allowing myself, like, this is the time, this is the moment for me to kind of go after everything I want and to think really, really big too. And knowing that I have lots of people around me that want that. And I am also very open to that I can still have everything I want. It's just going to look differently too.
Yeah.
Look at Janet now, but now he was a billionaire though.
Yeah.
I think I think if you want to have a kid at 50, he's got to be rich.
Yeah, 3 nannies.
3
nannies.
I don't think you can be deeply in love at 50 trying to have a baby. Okay.
What is something that, you said you're public facing, you're out here a lot, you do events, you're upfront and everything else.
Yep.
And I think that sometimes with those personas, there's sometimes the person in the back of our head that's like, I want everybody to know this about myself. And something that you are very open about is, that I'm an introvert. And it very much shows up in observant people. Even when you're on stage, you actually stand toward the back and like you're disappearing as you're talking to the whole fucking room.
Yes.
So what's something very clearly that the Jasmine in the head that's not the introvert is like, know this about me clearly that you don't always share and say?
Ooh, I have no failure I have no fear to fail at this point. And when I talk to women to an event and I'm saying about this, that you have this sisterhood, I'm looking you dead in the eye, it's legit because I have been there and I'm legit a sisterhood, a support for you. I think people hear and see everything. They're like, oh, you're just saying these things. You're just another women's group. You're just trying to start this stuff. No, that is legit, serious. If I'm into something, I'm into something. If we are friends, you may not hear from me. You may not be thinking I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you all the time. I'm always thinking about other people. But I am someone who craves solitude, likes a lot of privacy too. And I think that's the confusing piece too, because they'll be like, girl, you were Kiki and all this. It's true. That is one side of me too. But I have had it to carry the weight of trying to build a community, as you already know this, LaGina, but trying to build something for a long time. And then in the state of Texas is really, really hard. And then trying to build something that's thousands of women, it's carrying a weight of that too. So I want people to know that I'm human too. I think sometimes they think I'm like Superwoman too. I'm like, I'm also worried about how to lose weight. My house is a mess right now. Like, we all have the same situations that we're trying to deal. I'm still trying to figure out love here. Still trying to figure out who's the right match at this point. Like, that's just part of our journey in this way. The difference is though, I have an understanding of kind of who I am at this point. I'm not trying to be anybody else. And I also am accepting things as they are, which is the difference. I think when you're 25, you keep having hope of this future, hope if I do this. And one of my mentors always said, hope is not a strategy. He's like, you will go crazy, Jasmine, trying to build a strategy around being hopeful about stuff. I'm not hopeful about anything. I just know what it is. And it is what it is. Like either I'm going to build this community, I'm going to build this company and build this business, or I'll go do something else. And I'm
Mhm.
okay with that.
Mhm. I say, people are like, "I dream." I don't have dreams. I
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
plans. I don't dream.
Mhm.
And when I dream, it's like very techno in color, and I need to write it down
Yeah.
because it's a message for me to execute something that's already been given me to me
Mhm.
to do. My last question for you is when you think of the dynamics of women
Yeah.
currently right now, what's going on and who you are and who
Mhm.
your friends are and your communities that you're building out, what comes to mind, the dynamics of women?
Um, I think we are often misunderstood. And I
Mm,
also think our strength scares us. Because when I meet women that have children, especially, there is nothing more powerful than a mom group on Facebook. Let me just tell you this at this point. There's nothing more nothing they can shut down a company, they create trends, they can move a mountain. And we don't even talk about the strength of women because we're just used to doing everything. And so I think the dynamic is for us to really accept how strong we are. And it's more than a hashtag, it's more than all these events, because you can get caught up in all these events too, and all the stuff on social media and all of that. This is so much more bigger. You and I both know women that have gone through so much. They're still here smiling, still here willing to pour into each other. We know someone very close who's lost people. I know I've lost, and the grief of losing my mother too, who was such a huge part of me starting a company. She was at all my events. It's something I have to deal with all the time. But I realized that she her passing and the grief of that is why I'm probably going to take her Texas to the next level.
yeah.
That sometimes people have to leave in order for us to go to the next place we were supposed to be. Because what happens is we have them not as a crutch, but they're here all the time. And knowing that my mom was always here, she could always call, especially when I'm dealing with something crazy. I'm gonna go call reporters and sue stuff. You know she
Mhm.
wasn't gonna do it, although she has done it before for
Yeah.
me. Just hearing that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be all right. My mom can
Mhm.
whatever, knowing that I don't have that anymore, but knowing that she's gone and now like now what, right? Like the legacy of what she had here. It's like shame on us to not take our gifts for what they are and not to be as strong as we are. And we don't have to hide behind boss names or any of this stuff. Like it is what we are.
Yeah.
And I think the dynamic of us is that we don't have to think of ourselves as women entrepreneurs, as female founders, even this conversation imposter syndrome. We don't
Yeah.
have to think about all these
Girl, shut
things,
that shit down.
right?
What the hell?
We just have to think of ourselves as I'm starting a company. I'm going to grow this thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge or it's going to be enough to feed my family.
Mhm.
Period. That's what it is. We have everything we need to have exactly what we want. And I don't think we say it enough to each other. And we
Yeah.
always going outward looking for things. We have everything we need right now.
Love that. That's a good dynamic to have.
Mhm.
Okay, y'all. We're at the end of this episode. Jasmine, I want to thank you so
Thank
much.
you. This is great. We
Y-
didn't finish our
we
wine
didn't
either,
finish. We'll
girl.
finish it.
Okay.
That's not even a
Okay,
problem.
cool.
But I appreciate you sharing that part of your journey, those roads you've gone through, and the triumphs. And I always call them fabulous failure. People move away from this word failure, and I'm like,
Yes.
I think failing is great. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's a humbling thing. I think it's a strength thing. And like as you talk about, losing your mother, we know I lost my sister,
Mhm.
and like if anything, she threw at me before she went up or wherever she went. Um, was this she gave me her two fucks to give.
Mm.
And
Love
I am
that.
not scared of failing. I don't think
Yes.
I ever was, but now it's like I'm like, for real, y'all. I want to thank everybody who's a day one LaRae Infinity Let's Talk podcast listener and everybody that's just tuning in. Make sure you listen to all these episodes. As you know, Jasmine and I are both tightly
Yes.
wound into Share Me Wine and Share Me's journey. Check her out. She's now
Mhm.
in Central Market, and a new announcement is soon to come,
Soon.
very soon in
Yes.
another market. So we want to shout out her because as Share Me sponsors all the wine for the podcast episode, even over the recording of this,
Mm.
she has had some big and great things
Yes.
happening at the podcast launch party. She debuted some wines that aren't even out yet, and they're
Amazing.
so delicious. So make sure you're drinking Share Me wine. And y'all know how this goes. Uh, as you're moving through the world, as you're figuring who you're going to be, how you're going to contribute to the world around you, how you're going to make yourself better in your own light. and help other people. Make sure that you're taking time to check on people, the people that you think are strong and okay, because there's so much that we
Mm.
carry. And as always, tell your story, be your own brand, live your truth, and stand in your moment.
All right, y'all. My name is Jasmine. I hope y'all got a lot from this conversation. I hope that I've inspired you to not only invest in yourself, but invest in the woman right next to you as well. You just listened to my story as I live my truth and stand in my moment on the LaRae Infinity Let's Talk podcast, season 4, The Dynamics of
The
Women.
dynamics of women. All right, y'all. Until next time, peace.